Putin breaking news today live update. Where were Putin's friends when Ukraine invaded Russia's Kursk region? There were 12 young people from Uzbekistan who made a plea to their president almost 2 years ago, pleading with him to preserve them from the horrors of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Citizens of Uzbekistan that are enrolled in Western in a video speech that was filmed in October 2022 and sent to Shavkat Mirziyoyev, Kursk Medical University in Russia stated that their research had been impacted by the bombardment of adjacent towns by the Ukrainian government as well as the conflicts that were taking place in the neighboring Ukrainian district of Sumy. One of the students submitted a requesting that they be transferred to medical schools in Uzbekistan. A commitment was made by Uzbek diplomats to evaluate the situation. There has been no more information regarding their whereabouts, which is similar to the official statement that Uzbekistan has provided to one of the most audacious developments in the war. According to reports, Ukrainian forces have taken control of dozens of villages and hamlets scattered across more than 1,000 square kilometers, 386 square miles, of territory since August 6. Additionally, they have reportedly arrested Russian servicemen. According to the letter of the Collective Security Treaty, CST, which is a military treaty that Tashkent signed with Russia, its Central Asian neighbors Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, as well as Belarus, Uzbekistan was required to provide a response. It is obvious that they would not travel to Kursk. However, only one of their leaders, Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, has made a statement regarding the Kursk offensive as of yet. Let's take a seat and put an end to this argument. Neither the Ukrainian people, nor the Russians, nor the Belarusians require it, he stated on Thursday to the Rossiya television network, asserting that the only country that benefits from the war is the United States of America. Saturday was the day that Lukashenko issued the order for the deployment of troops to the border between Belarus and Ukraine. A television program that was controlled by the Belarusian government showed missiles and tanks being loaded onto trains. On the other hand, a Ukrainian defense analyst named Vladislav Seleznyov stated to the RBK Ukraine news agency that the deployment was a trick and that the troops and guns did not, in reality, make it to the border. The heads of state of other countries that are members of the CST have remained silent on the Kursk incursion, and they have not extended any kind of military assistance to Russia. According to Nikolai Mitrikhin, a scholar at Bremen University in Germany who spoke with Al Jazeera, Moscow would not mind if the forces of CST member states could contribute to solving its problems. However, it is obvious that they would not go to Kursk even if they were summoned. A state that is a member of the CST is required to request military assistance from other states that are members of the treaty. According to analysts, Moscow did not do so because doing so would be equivalent to Putin admitting that he is weak in both the political and military spheres. If Ukraine's successful military operation in Kursk was a slap to Putin, then the invitation of CST forces would be a second slap. Dosim Satpayev, an expert based in Almaty, Kazakhstan's financial center, told Al Jazeera, Almaty is the capital of Kazakhstan. Satpayev stated that the Comprehensive Security Treaty, CST, was extensively promoted as a structure in which Russia serves as the primary security umbrella for all member states. According to Satpayev, the nations of Central Asia and Transcaucasus, including Armenia, which suspended its membership in the CST, have taken an ostrich position ever since the first day of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. In addition to pledging to adhere to the Western sanctions that were imposed on Moscow, they prohibited their citizens from fighting for either opposition. Nevertheless, the sanctions are ineffective due to the fact that millions of businesses in countries that were formerly part of the Soviet Union make money by re-exporting dual-purpose commodities to Russia, such as microchips and semiconductors. According to Satpayev, the number of Russian enterprises operating in Kazakhstan alone increased from 7,000 in 2019 to more than 20,000 in 2024. This represents a threefold increase. In times of war, balancing acts. The majority of the Western nations' attempts to establish democracy in Central Asia throughout the 1990s were unsuccessful, and the leaders of the region now strike a pragmatic balance between Moscow, Beijing, and Ankara gaining in importance. When you have an aggressive neighbor like Russia, you always need to keep your powder dry, Satpayev said. The example of Ukraine demonstrates that this is the case. The act of balancing, on the other hand, is in direct opposition to the general consensus in the region. Russia's soft power and the dominance of Moscow-controlled media that spreads anti-Western and anti-Ukrainian sentiments are two factors that contribute to the maintenance of pro-Kremlin sentiment. Al Jazeera was told by a businessman in Almaty who asked to remain anonymous that things are very harsh these days. The businessman stated that one must either support the United States and their policies or support Russia. According to what he said, the narrative that was presented by the Kremlin nailed one idea in our heads: that America is the enemy, sly, duplicitous, and full of lies. The armored military vehicle that is being operated by Ukrainian personnel is located on a road close to the border with Russia. On August 14, 2024, Ukrainian forces demonstrate their ability to operate an armored military vehicle in the Sumy area of Ukraine, which is located close to the border with Russia. AFP photo by Roman Pilpi. Putin has minimized the seriousness of the invasion that took place in Kursk. Instead of referring to it as an act of war or an invasion, he has referred to the effort to stop the attack that is being carried out across the border by Ukraine as a counterterrorism operation. During the Second War in Chechnya, which began in 1999 and culminated in war crimes and human rights abuses on both sides, the word was the Kremlin's chosen euphemism for the conflict. Timur Umarov, an analyst who was born in Uzbekistan and works for the Carnegie Russia Eurasia Center, a think tank in Berlin, stated that the Kremlin is trying to silence what's happening in Kursk, and its allies do the same. He stated to Al Jazeera that no one is going to think about expressing a definite position as long as Russia's political regime is not under threat. This is due to the fact that such a viewpoint restricts the amount of wiggle space that is available. According to Alisher Ilkamov, the head of Central Asia Due Diligence, a think tank located in London, the term counterterrorism situation also helps to retain Putin's legitimacy in the eyes of a typical Russian citizen. In the meantime, Putin has given indications that he wouldn't use nuclear arms as a weapon of retribution and doesn't see the Ukrainian offensive as a pretext to escalate the conflict with the West, as Ilkamov stated in an interview with Al Jazeera.